Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today for episode 47 of Inside the Majors. Today I'll bring you part 2 of our Sudspeed MEC Champions interview series, this episode with the GT3 Elite winners, Negative Delta by Simgear. We also have some major series races to catch up on since the podcast took its little break, so today we'll look back at the Watkins Glen 2-hour event from just before the Majors 24. Quickly before we get onto those, a reminder that Season 3 registrations for the Sudspeed MEC are open now and will remain open until the end of August, with Round 1 on Saturday, September the 5th. For more details, please see the MEC series page on the website. The revised rules for the season are also available there, as is the registration button. Okay, so quick message and then we'll get started.
G'day everyone, Richard here, co-founder of Sudspeed. Chris and I started this business to create the best sim racing glove, one that's lightweight, breathable and super grippy. We have a range of clean motorsport-inspired designs and most importantly, they're great value, shipped right to your door almost anywhere in the world. We love the guys at Majors and we're proud supporters of the MEC. When you buy your gloves at sudspeed.com, make sure you use the discount code MAJORS at checkout for 10% off. See you on track.
So, round 6 of the Major Series, the halfway point for 2026, was a 2-hour multi-class race at Watkins Glen at the end of May. Seems an age ago now, but we haven't talked about it on the podcast, so better late than never. Watkins is a really good track for multi-class, though within the classes it can be quite tricky to get passes done if the pace is similar. So the racing was tight and intense and the broadcasts were great to watch. We didn't have any adverse weather this round, though there were random safety cars, which certainly played their part in some of the race results. And with the comparatively short distance for these endurance class cars, it really did seem to be over in a flash. The scoring structure when Majors uses more than one class of car in a race magnifies the importance of finishing at the front in your class. And so there was no holding back in any battle for the lead. And as we push past halfway in the series now, those points battles and championship contenders are starting to come into focus. So if we look at international first, in GTP we had 2 championship contenders, with then championship leader Ben Doughty and last year's champion Ewan Baker battling for the win in class, with Ewan ultimately coming out on top for the max score and Ben taking second place points. Ewan pretty much had the race under control, leading 64 of the 72 laps, so well done to Ewan. In LMP2, Robert Northway took his second win of the year for International, taking full advantage of an early penalty-assessed pole sitter Thomas Hinz, who had some further dramas later in the race preventing a comeback through the field. And in GT3, it was Dylan Jordan who took what I believe was his first ever Major Series win ahead of Robert Henry. So well done to all of those drivers. In the European region, visitor to the series, though regular MEC runner, Quinten Verdonk was the winner in GTP, taking the lead at the first pit stops from the pole sitter, well, me, and never looking back. Second was Gary Thomas, a superb result for the Sports Silver driver and a massive boost to his chances of taking that division title for this year. And in third was Sebastian Jackson. LMP2 championship leader Austin O'Neill took the win ahead of teammates Matthew Crisp and Michael Haflitzen, Austin's closest rival for the championship, in third position there. And in GT3, it was a great battle between series returnee James Walker and title contender Daniel Thomas, both known GT3 experts, and the pair were very closely matched and clearly the class of the field in that, class for that race. So congratulations to all of those people in the European division. So finally to the Americas region, this was the largest grid of all of them, with over 50 cars on the track, and so it was busy for the entire duration. In GTP, following taking the lead at the safety car restart, I was able to get the win, my first and likely only win in 2026, though it was certainly not a straightforward run in the final stint. Nathan Dowd and Ross Banfield had been the front runners early, but both were caught in a restart melee, allowing me to jump into the lead, and Nathan would have to pit again for damage repair as a result. Ross actually took the lead with, I think, around 10 laps remaining, but I got the lead back after he was impeded by a slower class car recovering from an incident. And then as we took the white flag, we were running side by side towards turn 1, also approaching a GT3 car into the braking zone, and 3 into 2 didn't work, with Ross unfortunately ending up in the fence and not being able to even complete the last lap due to the damage. So that was an unfortunate end for Ross, but it's pretty rare that I get to fight with the true elites of the Major Series. I had a great time doing it. And was pretty happy to take the win. Sebastian Jackson was second in GTP, holding off the fast recovering Nathan Dowd by under 0.2 of a second at the line to complete the podium. In LMP2, championship leader Austin O'Neill maintained his amazing run in 2026 with a win in that class, And in GT3, it was PJ Sturgis taking his first ever majors win, but you can expect there to be many more from PJ. He is an absolute gun. So that meant it was actually a Fusion trifecta, with that team taking the win in all three of the classes. So well done to them, or us, or yes. Anyway, we'll have a closer look at the championship standings for both drivers and teams in a podcast later next week, because we haven't quite caught up on all of the round reviews just yet, with the Road America 2.4 and the Brickyard 400 still to be reviewed on the podcast. So now, the focus of this episode, the second in our MEC Champions interviews. Today's instalment of the Sudspeed MEC Season 2 Champions Series is with our GT3 Elite division winners, Negative Delta by Simgear. Now, Negative Delta was actually the division champion that won by the largest margin of any of the four winners, and that was following an amazing second half of the season to storm to victory. We have with us today Ivalo Bojchev, the lead driver, I guess you could say, and also the team strategist and engineer, Vladislav Shopov. Welcome, both of you, and thanks for coming along to have a chat with us on Inside the Majors.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for the invite.
If we can look at the second half of the season first, 2 wins and a second place in the final 3 rounds, whilst all of your competitors were sharing the major points paying positions between them, meant a 50-point margin when it was all said and done. Can you tell us how you turned the season around after the first 3 races were perhaps not as great as you would have hoped for?
Yeah, well, honestly, it was mainly strategy calls. I think in the second part of the season, it all just came together. First part, we were making a lot of mistakes, mainly in their strategy. Honestly, pace wasn't too bad. Setups were fine, but we were just losing out on strategy, on the boxes, on how much we should fuel, on extra laps, stuff like this. And then after we gathered some experience, basically, in the first part of the season, I think everything just clicked in the second part. Pace was already there. We actually improved it just a tiny little bit, but when you include good strategy calls, it all just comes together, and we took 2 wins, almost got a third one, so pretty happy with that result.
So if it was strategy that helped you win, was that, Vladislav, you didn't do a good job in the first half of the season, or did you join the team some way through the season to help with that?
No, I absolutely botched the first part of the season. It was a lot of learning to do. And it was a lot of safety cars and unlucky stuff. I think it was partly luck that got us to where we were at the second part of the season. But yeah, strategy was fine, I think, in the first couple of races, but it was just unlucky. Yeah, there's nothing we could have done in the first part. Second part, it was just like more experience, more safety car prediction thing. Like half an hour after the safety car has already gone, it's like you can push as much as you want, and then fuel saving at the end. It's just experience.
So coming into the final round, you had a 31-point lead. Did that change the way that you approached the race, or was it just go for the win and not even look at the points?
You always go for the win.
Yeah, we always try and win, but it was a balance that, yeah, we are aiming for the win, but if it makes us risk our whole race, we shouldn't really go for it. And we left a little bit of margin that even if we finish P2, P3, that would still be fine. But we're obviously still chasing the win.
So tell us the story of your race in that 12-hour event to finish with. How was it coming in and out of the rain for you guys?
Well, first of all, we basically got pole position. I think margins were quite close with P2 by Delta V. Then we started. My teammate Johan did, I believe, 2 stints. He gave me the car back in P1. I hopped in, but then Eros, the guy driving for Delta V, was already warmed up. He did 2 stints. So I hopped in the car, he was a little faster, I let him go, and then just rain came down. We boxed for wet tires, and honestly, the rain conditions are just my favorite, so I really enjoyed them. Got the pace quite fast in the first couple of laps, opened up a bit of a gap, and then from there on, I think I managed to pull somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds. Safety car came out, something happened, and then that's where our first mistake actually comes in. We saw the safety car, and that if the others box and you manage to do one more lap at full pace or at safety car speeds, you actually gain a big advantage. Even though we were P1, for some reason we wanted to risk it. And basically we're watching whether the safety car had came out or not. And I was last corner, basically right before the pit entry. And then we said, okay, do one more lap so that we can go full pace. And then safety car came out literally as we were passing the pit lane entry. So we went from P1 with a nice comfortable gap back to P18, I believe, after the safety car restart, and just fully wet conditions, pretty much at the back of the grid. Then, as I said, I love the wet conditions. So in, I think, about 10 laps, I managed to get it back to P1. but then also had a accident with one of the Sorrentos because, yeah, it was just a racing incident. I braked a little too late, he braked a little too early, and then we got a drive-through penalty for that, but pace was good enough. I think at one point I was lapping about 2 seconds faster than anybody else. So we got back from P18 to P1, pulled like a little more than 10 seconds of a gap to P2 before we had to box for slicks. Then my teammate jumped in. He started the drive-through penalty, and I think we came out P6. And then basically we were just crawling our way back to P1. Then there was another safety car restart, and there were some guys that basically loaded less fuel than us, but were actually slower than us in terms of pace. And then my teammate was cautious of, does he want to overtake this guy? Because technically we could win the championship from this position, and he stayed behind him for about half the stint. Then decided to try and overtake him. They had a little bit of contact, and he got spun around basically. So we went back from P5 to P15 and just started the whole race again from the back of the grid. We basically decided to underfuel the car, I believe 1 or 2 times, so that we can jump cars on track so that we don't lose time overtaking them. That was basically a huge gamble on our side. And then we got lucky with 2 safety cars, so we equaled out our strategy to be on the same strategy as the other guys, because when we were underfueling, eventually at some point we were going to have to fuel all of that back up. So we got on the same strategy back to, I believe, P5 or P4, and then I hopped in the car for the last 2 stints and just full push, went from P4 to P2 with an overtake for P2 on Aerokinetics, who are actually our main rival in the championship. They were P2. Managed to overtake them on the out lap of my last stint, which was just quite chaotic because right as we were coming out, we came out of the pits like a second apart. And then 2 guys on already warmed up tire just came flying past us. It was just dive bombs. There was GTPs overtaken on the straights 3 wide. It was absolutely chaotic. Then somehow they got through. And then at the end of the lap, it was just me and Charlie Bobby from Aerokinetics. For P2, managed to get that overtake, and then the rest was done. So I think that's a walkthrough through our whole race.
Yeah, I'll give you a shorter one. It was like an elevator going up and down, up and down, up and down, and then we ended up like P2.
It's an amazing story, an amazing sequence, though. It's a true old school endurance racing story, that one, isn't it? Where you're fighting, you're in the lead, you're at the back, you're somewhere in between, you're overcoming an incident, you're overcoming a penalty. This is what 12-hour team endurance races can provide. And from my perspective in the race control box, I don't get to see those stories play out. So it's great to hear the sequence of what you went through during the 12 hours. And Vladislav, I suppose from your perspective, when you're trying to come up with strategy, there's no substitute for just outright alien pace, is there?
Honestly, I knew these guys have the pace, especially Vilo in the wet. As he mentioned, 2 seconds a lap faster than the leaders, even though you're at P18. You're not worried about the pace, but you're worried about him making a mistake or pushing somebody, such as the Sorrento, and then getting a drive-through penalty, and then you just like on your nails, just trying to make sure they don't do anything stupid. So to be honest, my job was much easier. I was just like sitting there watching everything, while Ivilo was in the last stint just pushing. And honestly, my job was so much easier than his.
And being in the slower class as well, once the field's spread out, the prototypes are constantly coming through. Is it as much about managing them and losing as little time to them as possible as it is racing your own class?
I think it's a combination of both, because especially when you have to fuel save, let's say at Road America, there was one point where we had to save a little bit of fuel, and the traffic just makes fuel saving so much easier, because when you see somebody coming up behind you, let's say an LMP2 is, I don't know, half a second behind you on the braking, you know that he wants to dive bomb you and you have to save fuel. So you just lift and you kind of help each other. So I think in some instances, it makes it easier, but then that was mainly Road America. For tracks like Indianapolis, it was, a little more painful when you go just side by side in the S's at Indianapolis with GTPs and LMP2s. And because there was so much traffic and the lap is so short, they're basically lapping you every 5 laps. So there was just constant traffic. So it kind of varies track by track. At some, it's really good and it actually helps you. At others, it's just painful.
As a prototype driver myself, it's nice to hear a GT driver thinking about letting prototypes through so they both lose as little time as possible.
Quick little tangent. Ivilo is actually a GTP driver that's converted. Well, we managed to fix him. And now he's a GT3 driver.
Yeah, I joined the team mainly driving GTP, but there was nobody else in our team that was actually driving GTP, so I had to convert at some point. So
Yeah,
I haven't driven GTPs in a while.
Yeah, thank me later.
So taking it back to the start of the season, round 1 was a good result, just off the podium in 4th place, but Sebring and Long Beach didn't go quite as good. Tell us about where it was that those races fell over.
I'll tell you the Daytona one. That's the round 1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was. I think it was like 1 hour of safety car, which basically it was a pain in the butt, in the backside, in the ass. I think it was because of undrivable conditions, but I honestly didn't agree with that because we've driven in such much worse conditions. So it was, I think by the end of the safety car period, we're just like back on track trying to figure out what's going on. And then, but you've already had an hour of just basically Sunday driving. It's kind of hard to get your drivers motivated.
It might have been an hour behind the safety car in the MEC, but the real world Daytona 24 this year had 6.5 hours behind the safety car because of
6.5.
I was just giving you guys a realistic experience, so you're welcome.
No, thank you for not making it 6.5. I know, I'll take an hour. Yeah, sure.
And then Daytona, again, we made a little mistake with the strategy. Round 1, it was acceptable back then. And we never really had the pace in the dry. But then, I guess, lucky for us, it was raining for most of the race. We basically at the restart of the safety car, when we went back to green, we were, I believe, P5 or P6, and then we went again P1 in 1.5 laps. Actually, basically second lap after it went green, I did a double dive bump in the chicane in just fully wet conditions, which honestly, I don't know how we all survived, and it actually looks quite good. It's not as dangerous as it sounds, but it was just probably an overtake of the season of mine.
Yeah, sometimes I wish you could put a picture, but like a GIF of a picture on the wall, and that would be a GIF.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And then, we made a little mistake at Daytona with fuel. Basically, we didn't box, I believe, under one of the safety cars when the others did. And so we basically had an offset with, we had to fuel more fuel than the others. And that cost us not too much in the last 10, probably 5 seconds, but the margins weren't too big. And I believe we finished P5 on track and P4 overall. So not a great finish, but it's good enough for the championship. And then surprisingly that you say kind of the turnaround for the season, because after Long Beach, we were sitting all there with the team and our team manager was just looking at the points and he was like, technically, if you look at it, we can still win the championship. And I was like, yeah, we've got no shot. And then he goes, well, technically, if we win all of the next rounds, we can win the championship. And I was like, yeah, there's no shot. We win the next rounds, and then we won the next 2, and the last round we were like 4 seconds away. So I guess it is possible, and we managed to did it. But I think he was probably the only one kind of believing that we could still go for the championship in the middle of the season. And from a driver's standpoint, it was just, I guess we're always a little more pessimistic when you're in the car and you know what was going on compared to the race engineer side and the team manager side, just watching from the outside. Because they've got the ego's view. They can see a lot more than when you're just pushing in the car. So I think they saw that there's still potential and that it's more strategy calls and small mistakes than just outright pace.
Yeah, just to bring you back in like round 2 Sebring, we have no memory of that. We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
The concussion is still wearing out. We had a big crash, I think, in the last half an hour.
Restart.
Yeah, it was P2 to P whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah, basically P1 was on another strategy, so they still had to box. So we were net P1 on the restart, and then right in front of us, just LMP2s crashed, and then the guy just didn't hold his brakes enough and took us out, and we went from net P1 to basically nowhere. So there's the drop rounds, which is good. So we managed to claw back some points, but would have got another win there if it wasn't for that.
And then would it be a turnaround? It would be like a start to finish lead.
It was certainly a great turnaround, and it also sounds like you've had a lot of fun, and it's certainly been entertaining and never boring for you racing in the MEC this season.
Yeah, it's been an absolute roller coaster of a ride. There's kind of the saying, I believe, the days are long, but the years are short. So it's kind of like, yeah, every single race it's so eventful, but it just flies past you. And in the end, you look back and it's flown by you. But yeah, there's a lot of great memories this season. It's been great.
Some more general questions for you. How did you find the MEC and come to enter?
The MEC season 1, which honestly, I don't know. I think our team manager our team manager has done a great job at Svetanov is his name, by the way. He's done a great job at just searching for championship constantly. So I don't know how he found it, but it was also a good season 1. We weren't too bad. We had a different driver lineup there, but I think we still like a top 5 finish in the championship. So wasn't too bad there either.
The team qualified for the top split of the Majors 24, ended up finishing 7th this year. You weren't a part of that, Ivalo, but Ladislav, you were, and rather than engineering, behind the wheel for this one. So what was it like running with the absolute elites of the Majors 24 in the top split?
It was an honor to be there. We never expected to finish in anywhere in top 10. But again, it was, honestly, I don't remember too much of it, 24 hours, and then the last 12 hours, you just want to go to sleep. I have to look back and see what actually happened during the race, but the feeling was amazing. I never expected to get it anywhere near top 10, as I said. And 7th, I'll take that any day.
And with the way the safety cars played out, the margins were very close all the way up and down that top 10, all the way to the end, weren't they?
Yeah, I think we're on a different strategy. We had to do some fuel saving. I think I remember the last 2 stints, it was like 1.5 stints left, but it was 1 stop. So you just decide which stop you're going to do first, the long one or the short one. And we assumed that everybody's going to do, my team manager, which was Jeroen Zvetanov. So he assumed that everybody's going to take the long stop first. So we would try to switch up the strategy. So we took the short one and then the long one. So we gained, I think, 2 positions without actually any battles on track. And when you're at that high of a level, like the Majors 24, it's just like one of the highest level competition there. It's like any kind of track battle just loses you time. So what you want to do as a team that we don't have the pace to win this. It's like top 1 is teams like G&G and all these kinds of professional esports. So we know we're not going to win that. So what we try to do is try to stick in the slipstream of somebody who's faster so he can tow us along. And that's exactly what we did.
Tell us a little bit more about Negative Delta as a team as a whole. Is it 100% Bulgarians or are there people from elsewhere in the world?
It's 100% Bulgarians for people who speak Bulgarian. We have got Christian Novev. He's like half Bulgarian, half American. For example, me, I'm Bulgarian, but I don't live in Bulgaria. I live in the Netherlands. So it's just a Bulgarian team, but spread all over the world. So we got all different kinds of time zones, which makes it easier with endurance racing planning. The team started back in, 2022 maybe, 2021. I'm not even sure at this point. But it's a relatively new one, or in the context of sim racing, it's a pretty old one. It was 3 of us. It was me, our team manager with Jordan Svetanov, and then a guy called Christo, who is no longer part of the team. And then it just kept on growing and growing. Now we have, I think, 70 people in the Discord, 20 drivers, or 10 to 15 of them are active. 2 of them, 9K drivers. We've got a lot of pace now. Honestly, 4 years ago, whenever the team was actually founded, we never expected we'd get anywhere near that level. So it's great to see.
And Ivalo, when did you join Negative Delta?
I joined Negative Delta about 1.5 years ago, back in, I think it was November 2024 when I joined, and I was still driving GTPs, and then just gradually made my way into the big team. I think Negative Delta provides a stable platform for development. Our manager, as I said, is constantly just scouting championships, and he managed to find some championships that's, they're basically at the level that you are as a driver. So you're in a split that you should be in. So I think that really helped me. We did a couple of championships, but in those kinds of series, I progressed through pace, through setup making, and then I think the last 1 year, there is a couple more fast guys that came in the team. And yes, it's kind of the environment that once everybody's fast around you, you have to pick up the pace and be just as fast. So I think we're pushing each other, which helps a lot. And I think the team is in a good space right now.
Or in excuse my French, it's a cock measuring contest, in the whole of Negative Delta. So everybody's trying to be faster than the other.
Sometimes I'll ask people, is that being done in centimeters or inches, depending on where they're from? But yes.
Millimeter.
In millimeters, yeah. But it makes everybody feel better. Outside the majors world, what else is Negative Delta involved in at the moment?
I think the proudest achievement that we've gone to do is like the 24-hour series, like the 24H series. We managed to do the pre-queue, and I think it was like 24 people who qualified for the entire championship, because like the whole pre-queue is, if you qualify, you qualify. If you're out, you're out. So there's 24 spots, and then I think our time was 22nd. And again, we never expected to even make it, but then we made it. So our expectations is, okay, if we get top 20, it's going to be an achievement. If we get any points, like top 15, I think there is, we're going to celebrate. And then the last couple of races, we got points in both of them. So it was again, surprising, really surprising.
Yeah, we even got a top 10 finish. We finished P9 in Aragon, which funny enough, me and Vladislav were driving. So that was a good race.
It was amazing. So yeah, it was Negative Delta is involved now. I'm proud to say that it's now involved in the highest level of competition in iRacing. It's predominantly iRacing. I think we've done some ACC stuff back in the day, but we're no longer focusing on that. It's iRacing, I think, mainly now. And again, never expected to be here. And it's proud that we're even actually talking to you. Like, we're in this podcast. We're in this, like, the champions of MEC, you know? Again, incredible.
Do either of you have any real-world experience?
Not
driving,
really,
only karts. That's it.
Yeah, a little bit of karting, and then just, normal car driving, no track racing, basically. I've done some track days, but nothing compared to GT3s or anything of that class.
We've got a guy in our team who is Christian Ovid, by the way, who's built himself like a race car, a track day car. It's a Honda S2000, and he's doing a lot of track days. We've also got another one, Vancy Rajchanov, and he's got a BMW M3 G82, I think it was. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he actually raced this weekend at the Nordschleife. So they were racing TCRs. So yeah, he does probably the most amount of racing out of the whole team.
I think he's done 2 races in the Russian Endurance Championship in the TCR class again.
Yeah, so we've got members of our team that do IRL track days and IRL races. So we've got a good mixture of drivers.
So bringing it back to the sim world, what's next on the horizon for you? We've got a little bit of a break before season 3 of the MEC starting next month, which we hope to see you back for. But what else have you got coming up in the near future for Negative Delta?
We've actually got a whole timetable of events we're going to be part of. The SRR GT Open, the Foxtecca, and the 24H series, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I'm basically doing Foxtecca in about 12 hours.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but basically, summertime, it's a break for the whole team. So we're not as focused in terms of driving. And I think in probably autumn or winter, that's when it really picks up. And we're going to go in a lot of championship, a lot of different driver lineups. So I think we're
hopefully
kind of taking
more
it easier
championships
this summer.
as well. Yeah. It's, that meme of a tumbleweed rolling? That's us in the summer. And then there's 5 guys in one bathtub. That's us in the winter.
Okay, well, we'll leave aside the mental image of the 5 guys in the bathtub. But look, I do hope to see Negative Delta back to defend the title in MEC for season 3. Failing that, I certainly hope to see you back with the majors racing in the future. I want to thank you both for coming on for a chat today and Inside the Majors, especially in English, because if this was in Bulgarian, it would have been a very poor podcast. The awards are on their way by the time this episode is released to you, so enjoy those. And look forward to seeing your progress, both with majors and elsewhere in the sim world in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for hosting.
Can I just ask, is it Avalio?
Ivilo, but you could just say Evo. Yeah.
Avilo. That's correct. Avilo, the first is the full name?
Ivilo.
Avilo.
Yeah, it's a little hard to pronounce.
Hold on, I'll just send it to you. I'll just send it to you in like a broken English. Hold on.
Ivilo. Okay.
Yeah, that's close.
We have with us today See, I've gone there and I've done it straight away.